the culture is what it is here, because people have come to think of doing nothing as a waste of time. In my opinion, just sitting down doing nothing, just kind of being alone with your thoughts is not a waste of time.
100%.
I think it's necessary. That's how you really comprehend things. It's kind of like in class when you learn a concept, you just kind of follow along until you can sit there and think about it and realize it actually makes sense.
Exactly.
That's things go in one ear, out the other until you can actually sit down and comprehend what's happening. Recently, my favorite thing to do is listen to pink noise. I don't know if you know what that is.
Now what's that?
It's like white noise pretty much, except it's made to just calm you
Really?
and to focus you. So I just put on pink noise and just like comprehend, like whether it's schoolwork or literally just my thoughts. It is a very, very good pastime in my mind. It just literally lets me think about what I want to accomplish, where I want to go, what do I want to do, and it's honestly been very helpful. It's helped me to realize like where I want to go with like, I don't know, the podcast as an example, where I want to go with that, where I want to go with different relationships in my life, and it's been very helpful. But in today's culture, a lot of people think of just taking your time to yourself as a waste of time. I understand that if it's like I'm playing on my phone for an hour a day, that's a waste of time in my mind. But literally just taking the time to yourself, that's not a waste of time at all. It's necessary.
Yeah, you need it, 100%. And it's actually funny, like this whole idea we're talking about wasting time and like being there in the moment and all stuff like that. I'm trying to get like in a better habit of reading. I believe reading is important.
The greatest habit
exactly,
on the planet.
100%. I have a lot of family members or friends that are incarcerated, and when you're in prison, it's like you only have a limited amount of resources, and the knowledge you get by being in prison for so many years, it's like you're not catching up with the daily news and all that stuff like that. But you have these books and you could read. And some of my people like behind bars, they told me, they're like, yo, you reading, it's like, so it's like, for example, we're both in college. Let's say, for example, you do a class that I'm taking now. You didn't bump your head. You didn't messed up. Instead of me bumping my head the same way you did, I'm learning from you. So that's the same way we can do in these books. Everybody's been to college before. There's multiple people that have been to BC. If we just read these books, read these resources, or read their blurbs or talk to them, we don't have to bump our heads like they did, But it's about the time, like taking the time out of your day to be able to do that research. The reason I say that is because I read one of these books last semester. It was called Tuesdays with Maury. Have you ever read it?
No, I haven't.
You ever heard about that book?
No.
So give me a Google search, Joe.
No, yeah. It's not a long book, and that's what I'm really like attracted to, like not like huge books, because it's like an intimidation thing. We could talk about that after. I like to trick my mind into certain things,
Okay.
And if I seen it wasn't that long, I seen it was kind of interested, read the little like the back and all stuff like that, I'll look into it. The reason why it connected to me is because this guy Maury, he was a professor at Brandeis, and it's about him having conversations with his student about every week, and it's on Tuesday.
Right.
He ends up getting diagnosed with cancer, and his student ends up being, I forgot what age, but he's done with college and all stuff like that. He ends up seeing him on the street, and he's like, that was my professor, it was a very good professor he had. And he ends up kicking it with him, finds out he has cancer, and he's like, okay, well, every Tuesday I'm going to go talk to this dude. And each chapter is a different conversation they had. The reason it resonated with me so much is because, like I said, Maury had cancer. My dad was fighting cancer too. And if you ever go through like that experience of someone you genuinely care about fighting cancer, it's almost like you're just watching them like deteriorate, You're just watching them go.
It's one of the worst feelings in the world.
Exactly, because you can't do nothing about it, But in that book, he talked so much about being there, being present, and how him having cancer, it made him realize that everybody looks for these big things, the next car, the next house, the more money, the best job. But when you're going through something like cancer or something, you just like take a step back and realize the people you have around you, the friends, like for example, us having this conversation, my roommate, my club, we look at these things like they're daily things. It happens every week. Like, oh, I'm doing this again. But think about if you didn't have that. Think about if it just all got wiped away in one day. You would want it, even if it's the little thing, even if it's just like taking a break at VIP practice, or just like, doing all these different dances. You're like, yo, I would want it back. A lot of times you're like, man, we got to go do this again, but you would want it back. So it's like taking these things for granted and actually being able to be aware of that. And that book taught me so many things, and it's like, that's one of the things.
Right. My high school did something called, it was pretty much a spoof on TED Talks, King Talks. And every week we'd have someone else come up and tell a story or try to teach a lesson or something like that. And my favorite one was the favorite English teacher at the school, Mr. Boaz. He came in and gave a speech on understanding that you don't have to do anything. You get to do everything that you do in your life. So, for example, you don't have to wake up and go to school in the morning. You get to wake up and go to a great school with great friends and learn a lot of great information from great teachers, stuff like that. And it was the same exact message, just trying to live in the moment and understand that, yeah, you're a little frustrated by having to do all of these things. But at the end of the day, if it was all gone, you'd realize I didn't have to do any of that. I got to do all of that. No one was making me go to this school and do all this. I got to learn all this stuff with all these great people, et cetera, et cetera. And that was honestly a great lesson. And we had a lot of cool King Talks. I think that was the only one that had any value of, of all the King Talks we had, because he really is just trying to get into the mindset of you don't have to do anything, but you have the opportunity to here.
That's it.
And just understanding that, like, you get to do something instead of you have to do something, you can learn to appreciate everything so much more. And you're right.
Yeah.
Like, right now, VIP's kicking my ass. Like, 4 days a week is a lot. I've never fucking danced before. This is, like, brand new to me. I shouldn't be dancing 4 days a week.
Yeah.
But if it was gone, and, like, in next year, we're going to lose a lot of people that I really care about.
Yeah.
And I'm going to want it back. So I understand right now everything sucks. But it'll all be worth it in the end.
That's it.
And it's just getting that into my head is very important, you know?
That's all it is.
Yeah. Learning to understand the value of what's going on right now. Like I said, just taking a minute and accepting the fact that, like, you get to do this. You don't have to.
No, 100%.
That's a really good point. And that kind of goes into the whole mental, physical thing as well. I mean, like, realizing that, like, cleaning things up in your head will make you feel better